pop stars. Welcome to this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us. This week's episode is sponsored by Holmes and Holmes Detective Agency. You lose it, they find it. For more info and a full list of services, check out effectivedetective.com. Terry, would it surprise you to know that I want to be a detective?
Yes.
I did. I like discovering mysteries and digging into stuff. Like, I really think if I had it to do all over again, I still want to be a writer, but I think my real life day job I would have gone to the FBI. I would have. I thought about pursuing law enforcement, but I didn't want to be just like a regular cop. Thought I want to be like a spy person, so I thought FBI. Yeah.
I could see you being a spy.
So, but yeah, and I guess that's why I love like detective series. I love reading detective novels and watching TV shows trying to figure out who done it. And I like the ones that keep me guessing to the end with the twist. I don't like the ones where you just go in and within 2 seconds you already know who did it. I'm like, huh, really? But I don't know. So, you like, well, obviously, do you like detective shows? I know we like some of the same detective shows, but I don't know. It's crazy about them like that.
Wait, what's the detective show that we like?
Well, I don't know.
Would like Chicago
I
PD
guess
count, or is that?
Yeah, I'll go with Chicago PD, FBI. Now they kind of all running that cop, detective, law and order. Like,
Oh, okay, because when I think like detective, I think more like Sherlock Holmes, like both of the shows, the American version and then the British version of it. Like
yeah,
those kinds of shows, or the limited series kind of shows, rather than like Chicago PD or FBI. Because, yeah, I just consider those to be just cop shows.
yeah,
they're not really doing that deep dive investigative thing.
yeah. The genres kind of blended over, but yeah, I love both of the Sherlock Holmeses. The Sherlock Holmeses, the one that got Benedict Cumberbatch his start, I thought was a great reimagining. And then the one here with Lucy Liu and Johnny, I can't think of his last name. Is it Watson? Eh, no, but you know who I'm talking about. He used to be married to Angelina Jolie.
Johnny Lee Miller.
But Johnny Lee Miller. So, speaking of Sherlock Holmes, that was a great segue because this week we get to find out if Enola Holmes sequel compares to the original. Um, and of course, it still stars Millie Bobby Brown as the titular character, who happens to be the younger sister of the much more famous and much more revered Sherlock Holmes. In the sequel, Enola is hired to find Sarah Chapman, who dies after discovering some deadly secrets about her job at the matchstick factory. So, Tammy, what did you think of Enola Holmes 2? Was it as top notch as the first, or did it lose its way?
I would say it's on par with the first movie. I enjoyed it. I watched it straight through. I didn't feel that I need to be distracted, or end up doing like a whole bunch of other different things as I was watching it. Like it kept me reasonably entertained throughout the whole entire. I think it was like almost 2 hours.
Yeah, I agree. There's about 2 hours and 10 minutes, so it's a little bit longer than 2 hours. I know that because when I was going to watch it, I was a little bit sleepy initially, and I'm like, no, because I did like the first one, and I was like, I need to give it my full attention. If I watch it now, I know I'm going to fall asleep during this movie. So, and I didn't want that to. But in watching it, I was fully entertained. I'm with you. Or something I'm interested in, if it makes me want to actually fully concentrate, because I'm a multitasker to the end. Um, if I'm concentrating more on that than anything else that's going on, it's a good show. So it got the General Hospital treatment. General Hospital. When I say that, I don't do anything else when I'm watching General Hospital. Like, yes, I still watch General Hospital. Leave me and my stories alone. But General Hospital is my me time. Like, that's it. When I'm watching General Hospital, I'm full fledged into General Hospital. Nothing else. I don't answer text. I don't answer the phone. I don't have music playing in the background. I'm just concentrating on General Hospital. And for the most part, once I really got into it, that's how I was with this. I was more focused on on the movie, so I enjoyed it. Um, I was surprised at how strong it was for a sequel. You know, most sequels tend to drop off, but this one, like you said, it they did a good job. And in some ways, I think it was a little bit stronger than the first. What about you?
Yeah, I would agree. I think it definitely grew upon what the foundation of the first movie, which is very, very rare. We know that on the different series that we have talked about on the second season. And, a lot of times they go through a little bit of a slump. But I think for Enola Holmes too, there wasn't a slump. Like, I think that they grew on the foundation of the first movie, which is a great job to do since it's kind of rare.
Yeah, and I loved how I wasn't expecting to see two her love interest for number one to come back, or I like how they brought him back into the fold where it's natural, where you know so I was surprised about that because I really thought it would be one of those things where he was her love interest for the first one and then you don't see him again. But I love how they were able to incorporate that storyline. But it was done really naturally. Like it didn't feel like it was forced. And I thought that was kudos. Because if I recall that in our last conversation, that was one of the things that I was curious about when we discussed the first Enola Holmes is how they were going to um, incorporate him. Because were you a fan of Tewksbury? Were you a fan of their relationship? I can't remember.
No. Well, no. It was just there. Like it was cutesy, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but so this one I thought, and I know we had the conversation like, well, they're from two different worlds. How could it work out, especially the way it ended? Blah blah blah. So, you did get that whole kind of star-crossed lovers thing, but like I said, I think that they did a good job of making his reappearance very natural, where it was not forced. What about you?
Yeah, like it just went right into the story. And I like the fact that like she was like following him around and she knew his patterns. She knew like the path that he took in the garden or the park every single day. And she would just go just to make sure that he's okay and make sure that he's safe, or that's what she told him. And then him slowly figuring it out, like, yeah, why do you always why are you watching me as I'm walking to the House of Lords kind of thing? Realizing like, maybe you're feeling the same thing I'm feeling. But yeah, so I think it was it showed the growth of their connection and also their feelings. Like the one thing I loved about this the sequel is that everything felt very natural. Like nothing felt forced. Like even her relationship with her brother Sherlock did not feel forced. Like it felt like it was naturally growing throughout the entire movie. And so I would say that about the romance that she had is that it naturally grew and you slowly saw where she just kind of admitted the fact that she was in love with him the same way that he was in love with her. As she called him a what is it, a nincompoop?
Yes.
Yeah, so she called him a nincompoop. And then he would be like, well, you're a coward. And then she'd be like, and then she would say something else. And this is the ending. And like, and then he would be like, but you're still holding my arm. And she was like, yeah, I'm still holding your arm. And I was just like, just go with it. Just go with it. Or the fact of like, he was like the only one who could get her to giggle. Like when he came to pick her up and she giggled. And I was just like, oh, that's so cute. Sorry. But
Yeah. Oh
it
no,
was like they were just so adorable.
I agree. It was really really cute, and he for that time he accepted her for who she was, which
Yes.
was a really big deal. Like he didn't try to change her. Even like in the first season, he didn't try to change who she was, and he had questions just about how he was raised. He wanted to be different from how he was raised, but so it's like they accepted each other for who they were, you know. And I appreciated that about them. And I love the fact when you were saying that she knew his route. She even knew his alternate route. I was like, oh, you've
Yeah.
got it bad, girl. You've got it so bad.
Bad.
Um, so I love that. Speaking of her brother, the legendary Sherlock Holmes, which once again the role was reprised by the one, the only Henry Cavill. Seems to be day here on the wind down. But he, I love him. Like you said, it was so natural. But I also loved how they incorporated some of Sherlock's canon, some of his history, but still remembering that this was about Enola Holmes, that this was her story and her show. Like I love how we were introduced to Moriarty, who is biggest one of his biggest nemesis.
And a black
Um,
woman.
and a black woman. And this one, she was also a black woman. You know, and I also love how we finally get to meet Watson, who is also he looked mixed.
Wait.
Was he in,
Okay. I think I missed that whole scene because
it
what
go
scene
ahead.
was that?
It was the end credits. Um so
Oh, I didn't see the end credits.
yeah, like so you had, you know, that after she's holding her arm, you remember when she was going on her date with Tewksbury and they made a date. She said, okay, well, why don't I come by next Wednesday or next Thursday?
Yes.
We'll hang out on Thursday. So it shows Thursday. After they do some of the credits, it goes to Thursday, and there's a knock at his door, and he thinks it's her, and there's this man at the door, and he's like, you have the wrong place. He goes, no, are you Sherlock Holmes? She told me to come here, flatmate. And he gets it when he says she, and he's like, because at first, you know, he was about to close the door on him. And then he said, he realized the date, he knew that Enola had done something, because, you know, throughout the whole thing, she was telling him that he needed a friend and he needed a flatmate and someone to kind of out when he got into his moments. And so the guy that shows up at the door is Watson. So I was
Okay,
like,
so I'm gonna have to go back and watch that because, yeah, because it says that he was in, like, when I was looking at the casting, it said Dr. Watson. I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't see him throughout the whole entire movie. He is, I think, Indian.
yeah. So I love, and the guy, the actor, I know the actor. Um, he's a great character actor. But he's something else. I can't think of what it. I have to look it up, but I can't think of what else he was in. But I was just like, yeah, it led me to like want more of that. But like I said, I loved how they incorporated some of Sherlock's canon, and it all came naturally, where we weren't forced to suffer through a backdoor Sherlock, where we still knew fully that this was all about Enola Holmes. So I loved how they were able, even in the first one, I love how they were able to and make it so natural and still allow her to be her own person with her own stories and her own cases, even if they do overlap with her brother, because you know he is the legendary Sherlock Holmes. So I love that. Um, what was like one of your favorite characters that you liked, or what did you think about the main mystery? Let me ask you that.
I liked how it's based in fact and it's based in actual history. I thought that was great because you kind of course, you know, they put in their own elaborate spin on it, but the base of the story was based in fact. And I really, really love that because you get to learn something because I had never heard of that. So it was definitely interesting to learn just a little bit of the background of how that came about. Um, so and I thought it was like I like the different ways on her slowly figuring it out, right? Because it's kind of like showing that yes, Sherlock is known to be a genius, right? But you're looking and you're like, oh, some people can forget the fact of all of the Holmes kids are geniuses, right? And that includes their younger sister Enola. And so just kind of seeing her work it out the same way that we've seen Sherlock Holmes work it out in the different movies and TV. Love that more than anything. So it was definitely interesting overall, with the storyline that came about.
Yeah, we had a technical gremlin there for a moment, but I think we got the gist of it.
Um,
Um, I Yeah, I agree with you. I love the fact that it was based, the main story was based in fact. And of course, like you said, they did their own adaptation of fact or spin on it. But and once it came about, I remember a little bit. I'm not fluent in British history like that, aside from the fact of when they colonized the United States. But um, I do remember.
sorry. I just remember where I saw Dr. Watson before. Sorry, go ahead.
Um, I do remember a little bit about the matchstick strike and the matchstick girls and some of that, just because it was one of those just big things that happened. But seeing a little bit more insight to it, I was like, oh, okay. And again, when people ask me, and it goes back to me geeking out here for a moment, when people ask me why I love history so much, and I let them know because nothing new is under the sun. It lets you know that we lived through a lot of this stuff before. And if we don't learn from it, we will we continue to make the same mistakes if we don't pay attention. Like, workers poisoning, factories poisoning their workers. That is nothing new. Women being taken advantage of and thought of second class citizens. That is nothing new. So I just love finding out these other stories to say, huh, we're not alone, and seeing how they handled it, especially at that time. A woman standing up, not only for herself but for her coworkers and her family and all of that, and going against the man, literally, is, I love it. So that's my geek out moment. Okay, where have you seen Dr. Watson before? Where have we seen him?
He was in, I don't know if you've seen the movie. He was in a movie yesterday.
Yes.
Where it's like the Beatles disappear and he starts to sing the Beatles songs and he becomes famous off of the Beatles songs because nobody remembers the Beatles.
That's him? He looks so different.
Yes, that is him. He was the main actor. And I was just like, because when you said that, I said, I have seen him before as well, but I couldn't remember where when I looked at his picture. And then I saw the movie and I was like, why does that look interesting?
He looks so different now.
Yes. He looks so much older. And literally, it was like 3 years ago.
Oh my
It was 3 years ago. And he just, yeah. So, sorry. A little pause on that to see where have we seen Dr. Watson. He was in the movie yesterday with Lily James.
Okay. But yeah, I swear he looks so much different now. Like, not even the same guy. Um, I I love Helena Bonham Carter as their mom.
Oh my God,
Like,
he's
love
awesome.
her. And I love the fact that, she taught her daughter, like, that one point where she goes, I think I taught you to be too independent. Um, oh, and he was also in Tenet. Okay, let me stop. Um, but yeah, I was just like, okay. So I love the connection that she, once they found their mom, and I the mom is badass. Her and Edith, it's just right there behind the scenes, keep an eye on her kids. Um, I love that. So there's not much that I did not like. And like I said, I love the new plot line of it. Um, was there something you didn't like, since we talked about what you did like, what we did like?
You know what? I am going to be honest and say no. Like, it's not a perfect movie. It's not. But did it entertain me from beginning to end? Did it keep my interest? The answer is yes. So I can't think off the top of my head of any scene that I feel was truly unnecessary or that I absolutely just hated and could get rid of in order to lead to a better story. Did you, Eddie?
I cannot. I really can't, because even the scenes that you thought were just kind of random, you flashbacks, like you said, as she's piecing it together, they make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of fills in that throwaway, um, or what you're like, what? But it all makes sense, and you know, I the one thing I did say is I miss, and I don't know if this is just from, as we talked about earlier, the Benedict Cumberbatch series that was on PBS, um, because he became such a staple in that series. And I actually love this times that we saw him in the first movie. Is I was hoping for a Mycroft sighting.
Yes.
I was
Okay.
hoping for at least
Yeah, I will
one
agree with you.
Mycroft sighting. You know, so I
Even
would
if it
probably
was
say
like a
that.
picture or something, but just something of him.
Yeah, I mean they mentioned him, but just because even as much as you can tell that Enola and Sherlock really love each other, and as much as they kind of have this little competition, or they have that true big brother little sister baddie relationship, but it's ride or die no matter what. You can tell that they're the closest two of the siblings, but it seems like they become super close, like they're almost one when Mycroft shows up, because Mycroft is
Like they
such an ass.
completely exclude him from everything.
Yes, and I love those scenes in the first one, and I was just like, can we get one Mycroft sighting? Especially considering how high up the scandal rose. That would have been right in Mycroft's wheelhouse. You have the dirty cop, you have the dirty lord. So it seems like, I was like, oh, we couldn't find a way to work Mycroft into at least one scene. So that was my true thing, is I missed old Mycroft. Um, what did you think about the big bads? Did you think they were over the top, a little comical, or did you like them, or?
Once again, um, I think that it played the course of the story, right? So it played with the story. Because when you see them in the factory and you see the owner of the factory who's coming and walking around, and he's asking like, "Oh, how's your sister doing? How's?" And I was just like, "Oh, you evil." Be like, "Something wrong with you. Oh, you all up in this." Like that was my thought. I was like, "You all up in this." I liked a little bit of a twist to find out that his son was actually in love with Sarah Chapman, and he was trying to help her out. And the sad thing of him ending up dead um, was like really, really sad. But overall, like Grail was just the right amount of "you're ridiculous," like you're an idiot. Even the cop, oh my god, what was the cop's name? Who he was the real nincompoop of the
Lestrade?
Lestrade. Even like Lestrade, because you could tell the whole time, like he knew what was going on. He was just like, this looks very suspicious. So every time Grail said, arrest him, and he was like, for what? Like, can you help me out so we know what are we arresting him for? What are we arresting her for? For murder, of course. Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. And then he'd go about doing his job. But yeah, like overall, like I said, the storyline just really, really worked. Like even the villains, they weren't like over the top. It wasn't like absolute evilness of the villains. I mean, what they did, of course, was really horrible, but it wasn't like the absolute like evil villains in the story. It was just greedy individuals who was willing to sacrifice anybody for their greed, which is something that still plays out to this day in society. So I like that. Moriarty, I would love to see, I'm saying it now, love to see Enola Holmes 3, just to kind of see how Moriarty plays into 3, because I feel like that would definitely be the big bad of the third movie.
I agree, especially since Oh, okay. So since you did not see the end credit scene, as Sherlock is waiting for Enola to show up, you see in the paper that she escaped prison, which I don't think comes as a big surprise, but she escaped. So I agree with you. I think that because wait a minute, she worked for the Lord, right? Or was
Yes,
she
that
okay?
over
She was his
he worked
assistant.
for the treasury. Yeah, treasury
Yeah,
department.
okay. So I agree with you. I think, and there's no way that those two are going to come back together. I think that bridge has been burned. He didn't seem too happy to be outsmarted by a woman, and a black woman at that. Um, I think that's the one place where they kind of dropped the ball, is just to when she was saying that she was a woman. I'm like, yeah, baby, but that's not the end of your troubles. We know you being a woman is part of it, but you being a woman of color. Um,
I don't think that played a role.
no, I don't. But I think just because once you realize that she is, because I was like, when we were watching, I'm like, okay, she knows more. Like I kind of figured she was involved to some extent, right? Um, and I wasn't expecting a Moriarty sighting because, like I said, that's mainly Holmes's nemesis. But when he was having more trouble than normal solving the case, I was like, oh, and he figured out he was being played. And when he put together the clues and it says, "Nice to meet you, Sherlock," I'm like, oh shit, this is Moriarty. And I was like, okay, but who is it? And so I was just like, okay, I was, you know, I was like, okay, I was surprised. And then so I knew we were gonna get I thought we would just get a hint at Moriarty. I didn't think we would actually meet Moriarty. And so I'm like, okay, and her name, and then we find out that what was her name, Mur or Troy, was really
Hmm.
just a cipher for Moriarty. I was like, okay, because in the canon, her real name is Irene Adler. Um, and so I'm like, all right, I'm really interested to see how it plays out. And if they're going to continue to do, which I think is a good thing, if they're going to continue Enola and Sherlock, how do you make her the big bad? Because I was thinking, but he got away with it, that the treasure would be the big bad. I was like, oh, are we going to get a standalone Sherlock, or are they going to blend it? But I'm sure they could find a blend it effortlessly, and she would be involved because since she did escape, um, they're going to find a way to do it. But I would not be surprised if she and or the Treasury dude were the big bad of the next one. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm all in for Enola Holmes 3. Um, how if you see on Netflix they had season 2 up there, and I'm like, what? And I actually thought, oh my gosh, did it? I was like, am I confused? Is this a series? Is this like more than one episode? But it kind of played like you kind of got it in little vignettes where that it, even if they chopped it up and made it like, and did like they did with the PBS series, and just made it like 5-minute episodes, that would be good too. Like it doesn't have, and it still comes out to be about a movie length. Because at some points you did, I felt like, oh, okay, this would be the end of episode 1. This would be the end of episode 2. So I would be okay with that as well. And you may be able to story out of it. It doesn't have to be like a full 10 seasons, 10 episodes. I think that would be too long, but maybe a good 4 or 5, and short, like 30 to 45 minutes, and that still would average out on to be about a movie. I think that would be good too if they want to chop it up like that, because it's really popular. Even the original Enola Holmes is in the Netflix top 10. So this is the number one movie, and then I guess people have been going back to the original Enola Holmes. So yeah, but that was my long-winded diatribe about Moriarty and my geeking out over Sherlock Holmes. Have you ever read any of the Sherlock Holmes books?
Hell no.
I'm with you on that. I have not either. but
That's
I
more of a
but I
shock for you than me. I don't read like that as much as I used to, but you still do.
Yeah, but I thought about that. It's like I've never read one of the Sherlock Holmes books, and you know what? I don't want to. I'm okay with it. I'm good on that. I've loved all or most of all the Sherlock Holmes movies or series. I'll watch all of those, but I've never just gone but wanted to go back and read one of the books. All right. So, yes.
Mhm.
What's up?
No, you did.
Oh, okay. Um, so we both in agreement that there should be a three. Do you think they should turn it into a series or leave it as a movie? My last
Leave it as
question before we
movies.
wrap
I
up.
think once you turn it into a series, you start dragging the story out, which can lead to the slump that they survived with the second movie. So I think just keeping it as a movie series would be good. 2 hours, get the storyline out. I think would be better.
Okay. I can't disagree with that. I would be good either way. Just milk a little bit more story. Like I said, it would have to be. I'm down for it being like a short 4 thing if they were to turn into a series. Which I haven't heard anything. That's just me going on. So, how would you rate? I'm interested to see because this has probably been one of your more positive reviews ever. So I'm interested how many popcorns Enola Holmes 2 is getting out of you.
So first, what I want to say is remembering how I reviewed the first Enola Holmes. I said I didn't want to watch the second one.
You know what? And you were the one who was so gung ho about putting this on here. And I didn't go back. I didn't go back and listen to the first episode, but I was like, as we were talking about Tewksbury, I'm like, yeah, I don't think she was as popular. Oh, yeah.
No, I didn't. The first one, I was just like, and you had asked me like you always do, like, oh, do you want a second one? Would you watch it? And I was like, nope, I'm one and done. I am one and done. And now I can actually say, I would like a third one. I think it's kind of scary because, like I said before, a lot of times season two or the second movie is always the slump, where they kind of jump the shark. Which
Shark, yeah.
they jump the shark a lot. But for this one, I have to say that they did not. They stayed true to characters, true to the story, and so how many popcorns to give Enola Holmes 2 after our conversation, Eddie, and realizing that I actually enjoyed the movie more than I originally thought as I started talking about it. I am going to give Enola Holmes 2 uh 3.25 popcorns. Which I know was higher than what I graded it the last time. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I can't wait for them to do a third one. They say there's already conversations happening about doing Enola Holmes 3. So I'll definitely be there for the third one. I don't know if I want to review the third one, but I would definitely be there for the third one. So 3.25 popcorns is what I'm giving it. What about you, Eddie?
Um, yeah, I don't. Do you remember what you gave the first one?
Oh gosh. I think it was like 3. I think it's along the par. I think it was 3. I'd have to check my list. I didn't even look at my list, but I know it wasn't 3.25.
Okay. I'm going to give it a 3.5 popcorns. I really enjoyed it. I don't remember what I did for the first one, but I really enjoyed it. I was happy to see that it did not have the slump. And I was kind of balancing it out, trying to see. I could even go up a little bit because I love how they incorporated a real storyline, a real event, and they made it so fresh and they told that story, and it would seem like something that they grabbed from the headlines today. But knowing that it actually happened back then is, I think they did an incredible job, and it didn't suffer that slump. And I'm all in for a three. I'm with unless it's just something really spectacular that we would have to review it again. It might be a quick pop something once I get out of this slump and get the website back to where it needs to be. But I think that it's I think it's what happens. But yeah, you have any other tidbits, any other kernels that you want to drop on Enola Holmes before we end this?
Oh yeah, the first one I rated it a 2.50.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it
Yeah.
almost got Mulan. Damn,
Oh,
you
I did
really
not
hated
realize I
Tooth
went so
Fairy.
low. I mean, it wasn't Mulan because Mulan is a 1.75, but it was definitely down. I gave it half a bucket of popcorn. Um,
Yeah. Oh, wait,
but
did you? Were
but yeah,
you
but
the best?
it's grown because 3.25. I actually really enjoyed it, so I'm happy to
So
hear that it's grown on me.
yeah, so this sequel is way original.
Way better than the first
Way better. All right.
one.
Well, that's week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. Please be sure to listen, like, follow, and comment anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Just click us up at the Popcorn Wind Down, and we'll be there. Press that play button. You can also keep up to date on the latest in entertainment and pop culture news, as well as other amazing kernels of pop culture goodness at the popcornwinddown.com. That's it. That's the plug.
Pop, pop, pop,
Pop it
pop,
up,
pop,
pop,
pop, pop,
pop,
pop,
pop,
pop.
pop. Thank you as always, and be sure to join us next week when we discuss. Oh my gosh, I know you are waiting for this one. I think we've both been waiting for this one. Is this still our second highest rated episode behind the original BTS in the Soup? I haven't checked
Um,
lately,
I
but
think it's definitely in our top five. It's
five.
definitely in our top five.
We are going to discuss Young Royals season 2, which just dropped on Netflix, and we've probably been waiting for this. I know we were in agreement. I know we were in agreement when we watched, when we reviewed it, that we were definitely wanting a sequel, a
Yes.
second season for Young Royals. So I'm interested to see if not only it lives hype, but it survives that sophomore, quite literally, since there'll be sophomore prep school or something like that. But stay tuned, and until next time, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.
Peace.